وأعوذ به من شر نفسي إن النفس لأمارة بالسوء إلا ما رحم ربي. والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء وسيد المرسلين خاتم النبيين سيدنا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع ذنوبنا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المطهرين المكرمين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك سيدي ومولاي يا أبا عبد الله، وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك وأناخت برحلك، عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. قال الله العظيم في كتابه الكريم وهو أحسن القائلين وأصدق الصادقين: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، إنما المؤمنون إخوة فأصلحوا بين أخويكم. آمنا بالله صدق الله العلي العظيم. For the purification of the souls, the enlightenment of the hearts, for the hastening of the reappearance of the awaited Savior, Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif, enlighten your souls in the atmosphere with the recitation of salawat upon Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. Respected elders, sisters and brothers in Islam, Salamun Alaikum wa Rahmatullahi Ta'ala wa Barakatuh. This is an exceptional relationship and the only imams of the Ahl al-Bayt that were brothers. It is one that was praised by none other than the Holy Prophet of Islam, and they are considered as the masters of the youth of paradise. Imam al-Hassan and Imam al-Hussain, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhima, were the apple and indeed the glowing light in the eyes of the Holy Prophet. And their brotherhood is a brilliant example of excellence that history has witnessed, and that one that many people can learn and indeed take as exemplar. When you look at the Imams alayhim salam, you recognize that their lives were indeed centered around helping each other, assisting each other, and at the same time there was a much coordination that existed amongst themselves. You recognize that the Imams alayhim salam were brilliant in all their aspects that they conducted throughout their lives. And it was the Holy Prophet of Islam that praised them on so many occasions. When you consider, for example, the tradition from the Holy Prophet that says, Al-Hassan wal-Hussain rayhanataya fi hadhihi dunya. Hassan and Hussein are the sweet, fragranced flowers of mine in this world. And another narration says, Hassan and Hussein are rayhanataya fi hadhihi al-ummah. They are the fragranced flowers of mine in this ummah. The narration says that I love them, and whomsoever loves them loves me, and whomsoever loves me loves Allah, and whomsoever hates them hates me, and whomsoever hates me hates Allah, and whomsoever loves me and Allah loves them is in Jannah, and whomsoever hates me and hates them is in Jahannam. The relationship is truly wonderful. That's why when you study the biography of Imam Al-Hussain alayhi salam, you recognize that he looked up to his brother in many ways, and many a times people saw them together. Many a times they were praised together. For example, we are told that on one occasion, the Holy Fifth Imam narrates that the Imams alayhim salam, Hassan and Hussain, were sitting on the Mount of Safa. A man approaches them and says to them, I wish to have sadaqah. Sadaqah which is wajib, not sadaqah that is given to everyone. The Imams alayhim salam then asked him a number of questions. They asked him, you are only entitled if you have a loan that you can't pay it, if you are gravely destitute, or for example, you are not a person from here. The individual responded and said, yes, I am indeed one of those. He was given some money. He later went afterwards and asked Abdullah ibn Umar and Abdul Rahman ibn Abi Bakr. They immediately gave him. He then looked at them and said, I asked the grandsons of the Prophet, they asked me certain questions. You never asked me anything. Why? The response from those two was that those individuals are drenched in knowledge. They have knowledge that we don't have. Indeed, this was recognized in the lives of the Imams. That for example, an elderly man would come forward and say, I learned that the way to follow and to practice my faith is how the Prophet has been merciful to his ummah through Hassan and Hussain. They said to him, how? He said that I was practicing wudu incorrectly. I was performing wudu not in the right way. They taught me, but with the utmost adab. They came forward and told me that they wish me to be the arbiter between them to recognize who has the better wudu. And when I looked at their wudu, I recognized that my wudu was indeed wrong. But then I said to them, how amazing is this religion and how merciful are you both that you come forward in this manner. Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam loved his brother, and Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam loved his brother. And indeed they're given this title, Sayyida Shababi Ahl al-Jannah, the masters of the youth of paradise. Somebody will come and ask the question, what does this actually mean? Do they have a higher status than Amir al-Mu'mineen? Do they have a higher status than the Prophet of Islam or Sayyidatun Nisa? Why do we ask this question? Some people say, aren't we all resurrected as youth on the day of Qiyamah? The recognition that emerges is, there is an understanding that in paradise, there is the resurrection or the creation of people in their youthful age. And when the Prophet of Islam comes in an authentic tradition, that is narrated by at least 18 Sahabis, and it's accepted by all Muslims, Sunni and Shia alike, without any hesitation, without any concern. The narration is firm. How do we understand this? Of course, the response is the status of their father is greater, the status of the Messenger of God is greater. But when they're given the title Sayyida Shababi Ahl al-Jannah, it could mean a number of things. Number one, it's a way in which the Prophet would honor them, would say that they are masters in the sense that they have a high status in the eyes of Allah. That when it comes to this, they are respected and revered. Number two, others say that they are the masters of the youth in that they are superior to everyone else other than those who have a higher status than them, namely the Holy Prophet and whom? And the Imam alayhi salam. Therefore, Amir al-Mu'mineen. Therefore, some understand it this way. Others understand it in a different manner. And that is what? That when it comes to Jannah, it has a specific status for certain people. We have a narration that comes forward and says, Al-Mahdi Tawusu Ahl al-Jannah. That Mahdi is the peacock for the people of Jannah. What does that mean? It highlights that the Holy 12th Imam, Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman, Ajjalallahu ta'ala farajah sharif, is an individual who would be the magnet for the people of Jannah. They would look at him and admire his beauty, admire his spiritual status in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Without a shadow of a doubt, the narration highlights the excellence of Imams Al-Hassan and Hussain alayhi salam. And whether people like it or not, they should be considered as exemplars. But as we will discuss this evening, tonight, unfortunately, history has done grave injustice when it talks about their relationship. When you look at the world, the Muslim world today, many come forward and claim that there is a love for the holy Ahl al-Bayt. Many come forward and say Hassan and Hussein are beloved to us. They are great in our eyes. I remember once when I was in hospital, I was waiting for the delivery of my son, and my wife was in labor, and I remember going to the prayer area. The prayer area, there were brothers, other Muslim brothers who were praying. One of them looked at me and says, I saw that you pray differently. I said, yes, I follow a different madhab. He said, why is it that we can't all be performing the same thing? How amazing if we all pray together in the same manner. We don't have any of these differences. We all pray in the same way because Rasulullah is one. We should not ever pray differently. We should pray like the Holy Prophet of Islam. I said to him, how about we have a discussion with regards to placing one people over the other? He said, what do you mean? He says, the difference, I said to him, the difference between us is that we consider the Ahl al-Bayt as superior to the companions. And that not only do we love the Ahl al-Bayt, but we follow the Ahl al-Bayt. He said, we follow and love the Ahl al-Bayt too. I said to him, very well, but whom do you consider superior? You consider the Sahaba superior. Therefore, on that basis, if you would like, we would all come forward. If this is a utopic image that you have, that we all come forward under the umbrella of what? Of Islam, and practice our religion in the same manner, then how about we place the Sahaba over the Ahl al-Bayt? He said, that's a very sound suggestion. I like this suggestion. I said to him, in order for this suggestion to take place, there has to be an implementation of it in real life. He says, what do you mean? I said, when it comes to salah and tashahhud, when you and I recite the tashahhud, don't we recite Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad? I said, yes, we all recite this. I said to him, therefore, as a subsequent discussion and as a result of our agreement, we no longer say the al in tashahhud. We say Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ashabi Muhammad. Do you agree? He said, no. I said, why? We've just come to a conclusion. Let's put the companions first, then the Ahl al-Bayt. He said, if we introduce the companions in salah, then each of our salah will be batil. I said to him, then let me stick to Ali Muhammad, because they're my path to salvation and for my salah to be accepted. The recognition, therefore, is that we are individuals who will not only say that we love Hassan and Hussein, but we follow Hassan and Hussein. We admire Hassan and Hussein, and we reject narrations that highlight that they were not good brothers, that they continuously had conflicts between them, as we will discuss. Maybe something that you have not come across. But next time you speak to your Muslim brother and sister, say, study your heritage. Study your books of hadith and literature, and find how the venom of Bani Umayyah and Bani al-Abbas sought to tarnish and character assassinate Ali Muhammad. How we have preserved the dignity of Ali Muhammad. That is why when it comes to Imam al-Hassan, Imam al-Hussein, peace and blessings be upon them, would recognize how he was praised by the Holy Prophet of Islam. Listen to this narration. The Prophet of Islam comes forward and says, لو كان العقل رجلا لكان الحسن. If aql, intellect, was a human being, they would be called Al-Hassan. They would be called whom? Al-Hassan. This honorable individual, also the Imam of the Ahl al-Bayt, also chosen by Allah, demonstrated excellence in so many aspects of his life, to the extent that many people would admire his bravery, his courage. Muawiyah wrote a letter to Imam al-Hassan. In this letter, he said that, I wish to describe to you my fada'il. And you don't have as much greatness as I do. I am better than you. أنا خير منك. Later, after the peace treaty, Imam alayhi salam wrote to him a masterpiece of a response. Listen to this. Imam alayhi salam, in a long letter towards the end, he says, Hasha lillah an aqula ana khayrun mink. I seek refuge in Allah to say that I am better in you. Why? لأنه لا خير فيك. There is nothing good in you for me to say I am better than you. You know, sometimes if there is a need for comparison, there has to be some righteousness, some goodness. Imam says to him that I cannot find any goodness in you for me to say that I have more goodness than you. In that recognition that you don't have any fada'il. Then Imam alayhi salam says, وَلَقَدْ بَرَّأَكَ اللَّهُ مِنَ الْفَضَائِلِ كَمَا بَرَّأَنِي مِنَ الرَّذَائِلِ. That Allah has distanced you away from fada'il as He has distanced me away from shortcomings and mishaps. This is Imam al-Hassan, peace and blessings be upon him, and there was a close relationship. Interestingly, this relationship extended to a number of levels. Some people say, how can you say that Imam al-Hassan and Hussain were indeed so close? One of the areas in which we discuss is historically, Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam asked Imam al-Hussain to marry one of his wives after he was martyred. One of his wives, her name is what? Ishaq bint Talha, radwanullahi ta'ala alayha. A very honorable, chaste, respected lady. Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam was told by Imam al-Hassan, when I leave this world, I want you to marry my wife. When Imam al-Hussain fulfilled the wish of his brother Imam al-Hassan, later he was blessed with a what? This particular lady was blessed and this particular lady was honored, yes. This lady, when she was married to Imam al-Hassan, had a daughter by the name of Fatima from Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam. Later, Imam al-Hussain marries her, and this Fatima marries whom? She marries Imam Zayn al-Abidin when he is 17 years of age. Then, because of this marriage, Fatima bint al-Hassan marries Imam Zayn al-Abidin. A young boy is born. His name is Muhammad. He is the fifth holy Imam, Muhammad al-Baqir salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. What does this mean? The Imams of the Ahl al-Bayt from the fifth holy Imam onwards were connected to both Imam al-Hussain and Imam al-Hassan. Fatima was the daughter of Imam al-Hassan. She married Imam Zayn al-Abidin. That is why when you recite the ziyarah of Ma'suma Qum, you recite what? Assalamu alayki ya bint al-Hasani wal-Hussain. Oh Ma'suma, you are the daughter of Hassan as well as the daughter of Hussain. I was having a discussion with some of the brothers. They said, you know, we have narrations that says the 12th holy Imam is of the descendants of Hassan. You say, they said, Ali ibn Abi Talib said that amongst from my son Hassan's progeny, there will be a savior. I said, there is no problem. Because when you come to look at this particular relationship, from the fifth Imam onwards, all the Imams alayhim salam are connected to both Hassan as well as Imam al-Hussain salawatullahi wa salam alayhim ajma'in. Here it is also interesting to look at the wives of Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam, other than Ishaq. Ishaq and whom? And this honorable lady Fatima, her daughter, as well as Imam al-Baqir, as well as of course Imam al-Sajjad, were all there on the plains of Karbala. Who else was the wife of Imam al-Hussain? Today narrations tell us 6 or 7. Certain names have been thrown out there. But as far as authentic narrations are concerned, or reliable ones, the following 3 other wives of the Holy Prophet, of the Holy Imam al-Hussain are established. They are whom? Number 1, Al-Rabab bint Qais. This Al-Rabab, radwanullahi ta'ala alayha, was a great lady, a fantastic personality. This Rabab refused to marry anyone after Imam al-Hussein's martyrdom. This Rabab in Medina said that I wish to remain without a covering in my house so that I feel the heat and the rays of the sun, because my husband Hussein was left on the plains of Karbala without any cover, without any burial. So she would bear this pain. She established majalis. She was a poet also. She is the mother of 2 of Imam al-Hussein's famous children. Sukaina bint al-Hussein, who was 13, 14, 15 on the day of Ashura. Sukaina bint al-Hussein played a tremendous role on the day of Karbala. She was very eloquent. She was indeed a great individual, praised by Imam al-Hussein. She is also, Al-Rabab is the mother of the 6-month-old, the young Shaheed of Karbala. This Rabab died a year after the tragedy of Ashura. That's why we are told in a poem attributed to Imam al-Hussein that I love a house that has Sukaina and Rabab. That Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam loved his daughter Sukaina and he loved his wife Rabab. That's one of them. Another of the wives of Imam al-Hussein is whom? Shahr Banu. Shahr Banu was a Persian princess, according to some narrations. And indeed, Shahr Banu, sometimes it's narrated that her name was Shah-e-Zanan, the mistress or the chief lady of the world. And when Amir al-Mu'mineen married her to Imam al-Hussein, he changed her name to Shahr Banu, which means the lady of the city. Shahr Banu is the mother of Imam Zayn al-Abidin. And according to many narrations, she died when she gave birth to Imam alayhi salam. She gave birth to Imam al-Sajjad. She left this world. The other established wife of Imam al-Hussein is whom? Is Layla al-Thaqafi. Layla Ridwanullahi ta'ala alayha is the mother of Ali al-Akbar. Peace and blessings be upon him, the Shaheed of Karbala. And you know, some come forward, understandably and academically question, was Layla present on the 10th or not? Because when it comes to narrations, many narrations do not mention necessarily the presence of Layla, the wife of Imam al-Hussein, on the plains of Karbala on the 10th of Muharram. The response that we give is, we respect this opinion, but the fact that women of the Ahl al-Bayt, some of them were not necessarily easily distinguished or identifiable. Many a times they were protected, many a times they were not necessarily easily identified. So the fact that they're not necessarily included in many historical accounts doesn't mean that they were not there on the 10th of Muharram. And the idea that we have some narrations that says Layla was there, and of course she prayed for her son to return, is sufficient for many to accept that Layla was indeed present with Imam al-Hussein on the plains of Karbala. Another aspect of Imam al-Hassan's relationship with Imam al-Hussein is what? Is the notion of how many of his sons fought and gave their lives on the 10th of Muharram. Somebody would ask the question, how many sons did Imam al-Hassan have on the day of Ashura? How many sons sacrificed their lives? In fact, we are told that Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam had 8 children who accompanied the caravan of Abu Abdullah from Medina to Mecca and from Mecca to Karbala. These 8 children, they need to be understood. Who are they? The narrations tell us that one of them is called Al-Hasan al-Muthanna. Who's Hasan al-Muthanna? Hasan al-Muthanna is Al-Hasan ibn al-Hasan. Hassan, the son of Hassan. Who is he? He is a man who is the second oldest son of Imam al-Hasan al-Mujtaba alayhi salam after Zayd. And he fought tremendously with courage on the 10th of Muharram. But he was severely injured. And he had a maternal uncle who saved him, who stopped Bani Umayyah and the army of Yazid from finishing his life. He was severely injured. Some say his arms were amputated. He was amongst the captives that was taken from Karbala to Kufa, from Kufa to Sham, and back to Medina. At the age of 36, he left this world. He died and is buried in Jannatul Baqi'. He married Fatima bint al-Hussein. He married one of the daughters of Imam al-Hussein. That is whom? One of the sons of Imam al-Mujtaba. Another one is by the name of Abdul Rahman ibn al-Hasan. Abdul Rahman ibn al-Hasan died on the way to Karbala. On the way to Karbala, there are many incidents that perhaps we were not aware of. One of them is the fact that one of the sons of Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam left this world. Then you have a man by the name of Abdullah al-Akbar ibn al-Hasan. This is important for you and I to know, because these bits of information are crucial to piece the jigsaw puzzle all together, to be able to answer these important questions with regards to the relationship of Al-Hasan al-Mujtaba and Sayyid al-Shuhada. peace and blessings be upon them all. Abdullah al-Akbar was given the kunya, the title Abu Bakr ibn al-Hassan. Abu Bakr ibn al-Hassan, otherwise known as Abdullah al-Akbar, was one of the martyrs on the day of Ashura. He attained martyrdom after his brother Al-Qasim ibn al-Hassan, Radwanullahi ta'ala alayhim ajma'in. And the narration says that he was 16 years of age when he attained the Shahada. Of course, there is Al-Qasim ibn al-Hassan, the wonderful individual, the moon that radiated the plains of Karbala. And we have Abdullah al-Asghar, an 11-year-old boy, the son of Imam al-Hassan, who was also martyred. He was perhaps the last individual from the caravan of Imam al-Hussain to see Abu Abdullah. Who else do we have? We have number 6 and 7. They are whom? A young boy by the name of Umar ibn al-Hassan. Umar ibn al-Hassan is who? Is a very young child who survived Karbala. And in the courtyard of Yazid looked at him and said, you know, I have a son. His name is Khalid. I want you to wrestle with him. I want you to wrestle in front of me. Umar, the son of Imam al-Hassan, looked at Yazid and said, I don't have any strength. I don't want to wrestle. But if you want us to encounter, give me a knife and give him a knife. Because then we will fight. If he kills me, he sends me to see my grandfather, Rasulullah and Ali ibn Abi Talib. And if I kill him, I'll send him to see his grandfather, Abu Sufyan and Muawiyah. Even the young children of Hassan and Hussain were brilliant in their courage and their eloquence. The other one, the 8th child of Imam al-Hassan who was there is Fatima bint al-Hassan, one daughter of Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam that was with the caravan of the Ahlul Bayt, one of the captives that was there. When you study the wonderful life of the Imams alayhim salam together, you realize an important area that emerged. And that is the strength and the brotherhood that they exhibited and displayed for people to follow. People will ask, of course they would display wonderful brotherhood. They're brothers. I tell you, there are brothers in history who fought each other. There are brothers today who take each other to court. There are brothers today who hate each other. Brothers who are biologically, isn't it? There are brothers who after their parents die, they have disputes due to inheritance. There are brothers today who wish to tear each other apart. Just the fact that you have a biological brother doesn't mean that you have necessarily a very close relationship. Indeed, many aspire to this. But the relationship between Imam al-Hassan and Hussein was much more than a biological brotherhood. It was the establishment of true ukhuwah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to see in society. Why? Because the Prophet of Islam, Rasul al-A'zam Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, famously said, "Ana wa Ali abawa hadhihi al-ummah." Me and Ali are the fathers of this ummah. Not just what? Not just the leaders, but we are the spiritual fathers for this ummah. If Ali is the father of this ummah, Hassan and Hussein's relationship is exemplary as far as the need for brotherhood is concerned. Today we live in a society that unfortunately there is dissension. Sometimes people attacking each other. Sometimes people tearing each other apart. Believers, mu'mineen and mu'minat. Whereas the Quran comes forward and says, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةً. Verily, surely, in Arabic, إِنَّمَا is adatul hasr, means there cannot be anything other than the fact that believers are brothers. فَأَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَ أَخَوَيْكُمْ. We hear of incidents whereby people are what? Are judging others. People are talking about others. People are spreading rumors about others. Their own brothers and sisters in the community. Their own brothers and sisters in other places. Unfortunately, in a world where it is easy to destroy somebody's reputation on social media or on these tools that are presented before us, it has become more difficult to maintain this loving relationship that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so loves for us to adhere to. Listen to this wonderful narration from Imam Zayn al-Abidin al-Sajjad salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. says on the day of Qiyamah, there will be somebody who will call, Ayna ahlul fadl? Where are the people of virtue? A group of people will rise. Say, why is it that you are of the people of virtue? They respond, that when people mistreated us, we ignored them. And when they hurt us, we forgave them. Then the munadi says, take them to paradise without accountability. Another munadi says, Ayna ahlu sabr? Where are the people of patience? Then a group of people will rise. Then the malaika will say to them, why are you the people of sabr in dunya? They say, we were patient when it comes to the wajibat, and we stood firm when it comes to aspects which Allah has forbidden. The muharramat. The malaika say, let them enter Jannah without accountability. Then listen to this, amazing. The narration says, the munadi calls out, Ayna jiranullah? Where are the neighbors of Allah? A group of people rise. The malaika will say, why are you the neighbors of Allah? They respond, Kunna natahabbu fillah. We used to love each other for the sake of Allah. Wa kunna natazawaru fillah. We used to visit our brothers and sisters for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How amazing is this realization? The infusion of love and harmony, coexistence, peace and respect in society between the mu'mineen and mu'minat. One time, an individual was walking and saw another person at the time of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. So Imam Sadiq said to him, what is it that you look at this person with so much admiration? The man said to Imam Sadiq, Ya ibn Rasulullah, I love him so much. Imam says, then don't tell me, go and tell him. If you love your brother, you must express that love towards each other, because this love cements the society and the community in such a wonderful way. The Quran says, فَأَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَ أَخَوَيْكُمْ. Seek reconciliation. Work hard to bring people together. The month of Muharram, the Ayyam Aza, the remembrance of Hussain are a wonderful opportunity for people to come together. If you and I have severed relationship with our brother or sister, someone within our community, someone in our family member, someone who is perhaps distant from us, whoever they may be, maybe we haven't spoken to them for years. Maybe we have spread rumors about them. Maybe we have taken their rights. We learn from the wonderful example of Ali Muhammad that this is the time to create this harmonious relationship, to forgive, to instigate reconciliation and bring the people together in the spirit of love. That's why we are told that in this establishment of brotherhood and unity that we need to inculcate and show good exemplary role model for our children to follow. We have what? We have rules. We have golden recommendations from the Ahl al-Bayt. What do you mean? One of the most common reasons why people somehow have issues with the other and dissociate from the other, and there is disunity, for example, is because of disagreements. Is because of things that, for example, they have misunderstood from each other. So we are told there are adab and there are etiquettes when it comes to dealing with people who you may disagree with. There are many out there who we may disagree with, yes? And indeed, we are talking about generally people who are sincere. Because, I remember one of the scholars said that, people are divided into 4 categories normally. There are those who make things happen. And there are those who watch things happen. And there are those who don't know what's happening. But there are those who criticize everything that happens. Including those who go and spread rumors, those shayateen on this earth. They see or they heard somebody say something about the other, immediately they're on their WhatsApp. Immediately they're on their phone. Did you hear what this person said? And the best thing about it all is, they say, I'm not supposed to tell you, and please don't take this in the wrong way, but this person said something about you. Ajib. You want to justify it. Or how some people say, inshallah this is not ghiba, but this is what he said. As if by saying inshallah is not ghiba, you've exonerated yourself. All of a sudden you're free, you're clear now, you're given a pass. Bismillah. Destroy people's lives. Remember, You see, there are people in society. In every community, there are these kind of people. We have to be wary of them. One of the ulama said once, I was leading salah. When I was leading salah, I finished the salah. When I finished salah, somebody came to me. Said, Maulana Sahib. I said, yes. He said, your salah is batil. Okay. Why is it batil, brother? Tell me. He said, when you did your sajda, your nose was not touching the ground. So the Maulana smiles and looks at him and says, can I ask you a question? Where was your nose during this process? What do you mean? If you were behind me praying, you will not notice where my nose was. You were looking, trying to find faults. You were seeking to try and identify an area in which you can... By the way, there is no reason or need for a nose to be on the ground. But the idea that emerges is what? Is that we have these kind of people. When we disagree with others, let's remember these 5 golden rules in the spirit of the imams alayhim salam. Number 1, we should never judge and come to conclusions and rush into judgments by people. Give them time. Go and investigate. Somebody comes to you and says someone said something about you. Do not immediately accept it. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. In ja'akum fasiqun binaba'in fatabayyanu. O you who believe, when a fasiq comes to you with news, with somebody wretched, go and investigate, because lest you will be sorry if you come to a quick conclusion. Number 2, remember that people are free to express their opinions. How do we explain this? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed the malaika to question why He was creating Adam. أَتَجْعَلُ فِيهَا مَنْ يُفْسِدُ فِيهَا وَيَسْفِكُ الدِّمَاءِ وَنَحْنُ نُسَبِّحُ بِحَمْدِكَ وَنُقَدِّسُ لَكَ. Allah, the Creator, allowed the malaika an opinion. Who am I to say to someone, you're not entitled to your opinion? Allow people to have their opinion. Allow people to... This free space for people to express what they believe. Unfortunately, in this modern era, 2 times a year, we have conflicts between brothers and sisters in society. Especially in our own communities, the Shia community. When Ramadan and Muharram. Ramadan, moon sighting. Muharram, azadari. Isn't it? Ramadan, oh, no, this marja', I don't like this opinion. Who told you this? You should follow this. In the month of Muharram, you're a true azadar. You're not a follower of Hussain. You're this, you're that. Who are we to judge the servants of Abu Abdullah? Who are we to put people into these boxes? Who are we to differentiate and to make this division and create this friction in society? If you see somebody who is not expressing their love for Hussein the way you are, pray for them. Pray for them. Don't necessarily, spread rumors about them or express hatred towards them or judge them or tell them how far they are from Abu Abdullah. That's not the spirit. Similarly, we are told that we have to find commonalities amongst us when it comes to dealing as brothers and sisters. Number 4, very importantly, Islam encourages husnul dhann when it comes to others. Think good of others, think bad of yourself. Always scrutinize yourself, but for others give 70 excuses. Do not rush into conclusions when it comes to dealing with others. And finally, listen to understand, not listen to respond. And do not respond due to vendetta or hatred. Understand that there is a love that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed in the hearts of believers. وَأَلَّفَ بَيْنَ قُلُوبِهِمْ لَوْ أَنفَقْتَ مَا فِي الْأَرْضِ جَمِيعًا مَا أَلَّفْتَ بَيْنَ قُلُوبِهِمْ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ أَلَّفَ بَيْنَهُمْ. The idea that emerges is that Allah says, if you spend all that is in the earth, you will not be able to bring their hearts together. I have brought their hearts together. The recognition, therefore, is that the imams alayhim salam throughout their lives would be continuously helping each other in the spirit of brotherhood. We are told that Imam Al-Hassan Al-Mujtaba, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, when he was traveling once, he passed by a desert. He needed some food, he needed some drink. And therefore he found a tent or an area where he went and asked the person, do you have some food? Do you have some drink? The person said, yes, I have 1 sheep. I can slaughter it for you. I can milk for example, goat for you. And he gave the Imam. Imam said to him, when you come to Medina, ask for me. I am the son of Ali. Ask for me and I will reward you. Later, many years later, this man came to Medina. he went and said, where is the house of the son of Ali? They pointed towards the house of Imam Al-Hussain alayhi salam. So he went and knocked on the door. Imam Al-Hussain opened the door and says, can I help you? He says, do you remember I helped you and I fed you and I gave you food and water? Imam Al-Hussain was not the one that was given food and water. He says, very well, I will reward you. So he gave him money, he honored him and thanked him. Later, this man was carrying the money. Somebody passed by and someone said to him, Assalamu alayka ya Hassan ibn Ali. So he remembered the man who told me and spoke to me was Hassan ibn Ali. He went to him. He said to him, are you the one whom I served? He said, yes, very well. He said, do you remember? He said, yes. He said, come with me, I will reward you. He said, no, but your brother already rewarded. He said, we are the household of generosity. We give to those who serve us. That's why this relationship was exceptional. Now, when it comes to Imam Al-Hassan alayhi salam and his short rule, Imam Al-Hussain was very much supportive of him, was always standing with him. History portrays this unfortunate series of events which resulted in Imam Al-Hassan alayhi salam having to sign a peace treaty with Muawiyah. What are those events? Imam Al-Hassan recognized when he was the legitimate Khalifa of the Muslims that he had to fight Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan. But unfortunately his army had many weak links. People like Ubaidullah ibn al-Abbas, who were purchased by the likes of Muawiyah. He took with him 8,000 soldiers from the army of Imam Al-Hassan and he defected and went to the side of Muawiyah. Not only did they treat the Imam in this way, they were not loyal. Many of the so-called army of the Imam, when he recognized the danger of the corruption of Muawiyah, but they sought to even attack the Imam personally. We are told, for example, a man by the name of Al-Jurah ibn Sunan, he came and he stabbed the Imam in his thighs, causing him substantial injuries. Similarly, another person struck him in Salah. This was where? In Kufa. This is the grandson of the Holy Prophet. Likewise, we are told that some came and accused Imam Al-Hassan of shirk. Someone came to him and said, Ashrakta ya Hassan kama ashraka abuk. Look at how much Muawiyah worked. His false propaganda in Kufa and elsewhere, and how he purchased the conscience of the people. Similarly, they told Muawiyah, some of the army of Imam Al-Hassan, they said to Muawiyah, if we wish, we will kill him for you, or we will imprison him and present him for you. Whatever we wish. Even some of the belongings of the Imam. This individual by the name of Yaqub, he has a tariq. He says Imam alayhi salam had a rug. They came and pulled the rug from underneath his feet and they stole some of his belongings and possession. Therefore the Imam alayhi salam was left with no other choice as the representative of Allah on this earth, as a man who wished to safeguard the blood and the lives of his community and the Muslim ummah. He had a responsibility. The responsibility was to ensure that there is no obliteration of Ali Muhammad. If he had fought with the few that he had, all of them would have been killed. Imam Al-Hussain would have been killed. There would be nobody that would have been left. And Muawiyah would have justified it. Muawiyah would have cemented his rule even further. That is why we are told of a very important part of this particular peace treaty that the Imam had to sign with the likes of Muawiyah, despite the fact that Imam Al-Hassan came and asked his people, should I sign the peace treaty or should I fight? They said, no, al-baqiyatul baqiyya. No, we'll sit. We will not fight. They had no resolve, no determination, no loyalty, no commitment, the majority of them. However, mark these words and understand the next few minutes, because this is a sensitive area. What do we mean? In this discussion, there is a number of historians that have come forward and said there is a huge difference between Hassan and Hussein. Hassan was the peaceful one. Hussein was the revolutionary one. Hassan was the one who wanted reconciliation. Hussein is the one who wanted an uprising. That's why they say that Hussein objected and disliked to engage in the peace treaty that his brother Hassan signed. Listen to the following narrations that exists in history today, the history of the Muslims. Ibn Kathir, he comes forward, a famous historian of our brothers, Ahl Sunnah. He says, when it was time for the peace treaty, Imam al-Hussein was very upset. He came and said to his brother Hassan, you must go and fight. فَقَالَ لَهُ أَخُوهُ. Imam al-Hassan says to Imam al-Hussein, look at how much darkness exists in history. Imam al-Hassan said to him, Wallah, لَقَدْ هَمَمْتُ أَنْ أَسْجُنَكَ فِي بَيْتِكَ وَأُطْبِقُ عَلَيْكَ بَابَهُ حَتَّى أَفْرُغَ مِنْ هَذَا الشَّأْنِ. Imam al-Hassan, they said to Imam al-Hussein, Wallah, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to imprison you in your house. And I'm going to lock the house until I finish this peace treaty. You think it's only there? We find that in Tarikh Damashq, yes, a famous book of history, they say Imam al-Hassan and Hussein had a fight. They would not speak to each other for 3 days. No one would speak to each other. Until Imam al-Hassan came and reconciled with Imam al-Hussein. And Imam al-Hussein said to him, you know what, I wanted to reconcile with you, but I thought you are better than me in the eyes of Allah, so you should reconcile first. Another narration that says what? In Ustul Ghaba, this is a famous book that identifies the Sahaba, talks about the biographies of the Sahaba, Ibn Hajar. He comes forward and says that when Imam al-Hussein said to Imam al-Hassan that you should fight, Imam al-Hassan said to him, أَنَا أَعْلَمُ بِهَذَا الْأَمْرِ مِنْكَ. I know better about this than you. Another narration in Tarikh Damashq says that Imam al-Hassan said to his brother, Wallah ma aradtu amran illa khalaftani alayhi ila ghayra. He says to Imam al-Hussein, every time I have an opinion, you have a different opinion to me. Why is it that you always disagree with me? This is history. Say we love the Ahl al-Bayt, but they have these kind of narrations. And if I was to describe how they depict the relationship between Amir al-Mu'mineen and Sayyida Fatima, you begin to understand how history is being constructed against Ali Muhammad. And how today so many people are in total ignorance. How do we respond? Very briefly, what is the position of the school of Ahl al-Bayt? We completely reject categorically all these narrations, as we said. And they had a wonderful, brilliant relationship. But then how do we represent our answer? Number one, we say that Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam died either in the year 49 or 50 after Hijrah. He was martyred. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam was martyred in the year 61 after Hijrah. Muawiyah died in the year 60 after Hijrah. There were 10 years that we will discuss tomorrow, which were very critical in the life of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. In these 10 years, if Imam al-Hussein was against the peace treaty, he would have risen against Muawiyah. As soon as Imam al-Hassan would have been martyred, Imam al-Hussein would have said, you know what? I was against it from day one. I don't consider it valid. I'm going to fight. Whereas Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam respected the peace treaty and went with it. Did not violate it whatsoever. Similarly, narration after narration tells us that when people came to Imam alayhi salam, al-Hassan, and said to him, why are you signing a peace treaty? Imam would say to them, I will explain to you. For example, a man came to him and said to him, Assalamu alayka ya mudhilla al-mu'mineen. Peace be upon you, O the one who have disgraced the believers. You have disgraced the believers. Imam said, Lastu mudhillan lil mu'mineen, walakin mu'izzuhum. I am the one who has given them izzah. I'm the one who's given them dignity. Now, he explains why he signed the peace treaty. But then the man goes to Imam al-Hussein and says, do you agree with your brother? Is this something that you accept? Imam al-Hussein said, Sadaqa Abu Muhammad. Yes, whatever he says, he is truthful. I abide by it. I follow it. This is something that we find in history. Similarly, the utmost respect between them is recorded in so many traditions. For example, the fifth holy Imam says, ما تكلم الحسين بين يدي الحسن إعظاما له. Hussein never spoke up when he was in the presence of Imam al-Hassan out of respect to him. وعنه, and Imam alayhi salam, he said, إن الحسين إذا حضر الحسن لم ينطق في ذلك المجلس حتى يقوم. Hussein alayhi salam, if he was in a gathering and he was speaking, as soon as Imam al-Hassan attends and is present in that gathering, he does not say anything out of respect for his brother. But of course, the most important evidence that we present is the fact that we believe they are ma'asum, chosen by Allah, selected by Allah, the choicest of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's creation. They do not err, they do not make mistakes, they are exemplars. Therefore, they would never disagree with each other or deal with each other in such a manner. That's why the narrations tell us that Imam Al-Hassan alayhi salam placed these conditions. It's important to understand the conditions before discussing what Muawiyah did in those 10 years, especially after the martyrdom of Imam Al-Hassan, in order to highlight what indeed led to the revolution of the Imam on the 10th of Muharram. Imam Al-Hassan came forward and said that he does not acknowledge the Khilafah of Muawiyah. But he is going with the peace treaty to save people from bloodshed. Number 2, no one is allowed to call Muawiyah Amir al-Mu'mineen. Number 3, after Muawiyah, if Imam al-Hassan is still alive, when Muawiyah dies, the Khilafah comes to Imam al-Hassan. And after Imam al-Hassan, it will be Imam al-Hussain. Number 4, Muawiyah cannot place anyone to be after him as the Khalifa. Number 5, there will be no cursing of the name of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Number 6, the money has to be distributed fairly, especially to the orphans of the battles of Jamal and Siffin. And number 7, the Shia of Ali are to be protected. Their families and their wealth has to be preserved. And indeed, we are told that these conditions were violated by Bani Umayyah, by Muawiyah, as we will discuss. That's why when it came to the martyrdom of Imam al-Hassan, history demonstrates another wonderful area of how their extensive love and brotherhood was there for people to see. Imam Al-Hassan alayhi salam suffered when he had to when he was given the poison by his wife Ju'da. And his wife Ju'da was promised by Muawiyah that if she was to assassinate Imam Al-Hassan, he would marry her to his son Yazid. And of course, Imam Al-Hassan alayhi salam suffered and the poison spread throughout his body. Who is next to him nursing him? Who is next to him looking after him? Who is next to him weeping and crying, seeing his state when he had to throw up his own liver? Was none other than his beloved brother Hussain. But there is one moment recorded in history which highlights the wonderful relationship. When Imam al-Hassan, going through all the suffering, began to cry and weep. When Imam al-Hussain said to him, Akhi, Aba Muhammad, why is it that you cry? Is it the pain that you're going through? Imam al-Hassan says, no. La yawm ka yawmuka ya Aba Abdillah. There is no day like yours, O Hussain. And then he begins to describe what the 10th of Muharram would be like, how the heavens would cry for Aba Abdullah, how the rocks and the trees and the animals and the plants would shed the tears for the tragedy of Hussain. Imam al-Hassan is thinking about Aba Abdullah in his last few moments. That's why we are told that indeed the children of Imam al-Hassan sacrificed their lives for Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam. But it was not only the children of Imam al-Hassan that gave their lives. Of course, Imam al-Hussain himself, who gave so many of his children for the path of Allah. There was one man who was an individual known as a Nasibi, hater of the Ahl al-Bayt. In Syria, he used to live. A few years ago, before all the problems happened, he used to hate the Shia. You know what he says? He says, I used to go and speak against the Shia. He says, one day I passed by a Husainiyya, a Shia mosque, and I heard a story that broke my heart. This story made me change 180 degrees. They said to him, what was this story? He says, I was passing by and I heard that a young infant was slaughtered on the plains of Karbala. I heard that a young child was killed in such a barbaric way. And that broke my heart. How can a group of people have no mercy that they kill a young baby in such a brutal way, such barbaric way? That is why we are told when Mukhtar al-Thaqafi caught Harmala ibn Abi Kahil. When he caught him, he said to him, "O Harmala, what did you do on the 10th of Muharram? What were your crimes? Identify them and admit them before the people." Harmala comes forward and said that I am a good person as far as shooting arrows. I'm a good archer person, and I know how to get my arrow reach its target. On the day of Ashura, I had a number of arrows that reached its target. One of them was when I saw the son of Hassan next to his uncle Hussain. This young 11-year-old, I shot him on his chest. I slaughtered him and he was on the chest of his uncle Hussain. Another one is when I saw the brother of Hussain, all wondering what to do, his left and right severed. When he had lost the water, I shot the arrow onto his eyes. Another of my arrows is when I saw Hussain standing there, rubbing his forehead from the blood that was gushing, and I shot a 3-pronged arrow into his heart. But I tell you, the 4th arrow that I shot was the most difficult one. He says, why? He says, Hussain came up with a young 6-month-old baby of his. The narrations tell us that Abu Abdullah wanted to bid farewell to his family members, but Sayyida Zainab came forward and said, Akhi Hussain, the children are thirsty, they are desiring some water. I beg you, take this 6-month-old infant of yours, feed him some water, quench his thirst. Maybe the enemy have some mercy in their heart. Imam al-Hussein looks at his Ali al-Asghar. The eyes of the father cast themselves on the eyes of the young infant baby. The baby had stopped crying because of the thirst. There was no more energy to cry. No water for several days. Imam al-Hussein picks him up. The fatherly compassion, the fatherly love of Abu Abdullah. He gets him close to his chest. He hugs him. I tell you, maybe this was the wida', this was the farewell. He comes and picks him up before the army of Umar ibn Sa'ad and says, "Oh people, if the adults have committed any errors and mistakes, what is the wrong that the children have committed? Feed him some water." Umar ibn Sa'ad at that moment saw that his army began to discuss amongst themselves. What should we do? Should we quench the thirst? Should we feed him water? Harmala said, Umar ibn Sa'ad said to me, why don't you stop this discussion? Cut their discussion. He says, I took an arrow that I normally use to slaughter an adult. I looked at the baby and I examined, where should I slaughter this baby? Where shall I strike him? I tell you, he said, I saw the whiteness of his neck. I saw Ali al-Asghar's neck emerge when he was being carried by his father. The arrow was placed on the bow. I shot it and it pierced through the neck of this young baby. This Harmala said, I saw him flap his wings like a bird that was being slaughtered. Abu Abdullah looks at the slaughtered baby, picks up the blood of Ali al-Asghar, throws it up to the heavens. هَوَّنَ مَا نَزَلَ بِي أَنَّهُ بِعَيْنِ اللَّهِ. Allah is witness that this calamity has befallen unto me. Imam al-Baqir said, the Malaika caught up. They went and fought for the blood of Ali al-Asghar. Not a single drop of blood fell on the ground. The narration says that Abu Abdullah wrapped the body of Ali al-Asghar under his cloak. He began to walk back towards the tent. Sayyida Zainab emerges, Sukaina emerge. They see that Hussain is walking back. Abu Abdullah, have they fed the baby? Aba Abdullah, have they quenched the thirst? At that moment, Hussain says, take this young baby madhbuha, take the young baby slaughtered. Ya Hussain, I wondered, did Hussain remove the arrow from the neck of Ali al-Asghar? Maybe he was worried that the head would fall from the body. The narrations tell us on that night, Sham Ghariba, yes, the narration says his mother Rabab comes out. She is there on the plains of Karbala. Zainab comes out. Oh Rabab, what are you doing? She says, I'm looking for my Asghar. I want to feed my Asghar some milk and some water. Where is my Asghar? Allow me to find him, because the last time I looked at him he was thirsty. Allahu Akbar. Imam Zayn al-Abidin says, he says, when I came to bury the body of my father Hussein, when I lowered his body into the ground, when I put his body pieces on a piece of cloth, I looked at the body and I bid farewell to the body. The body had no neck, the body had no face for me to kiss. But before I left the body, I heard the voice come from the direction of the body of my father. The body said, oh my son Ali, bring me my baby, my baby. Oh my son Ali, bring me my Asghar and place my Asghar on my chest. I say to him, Ya Zayn al-Abidin, when you placed Asghar on the chest of Hussein, what was left on the chest of